Hi, and welcome to the Strategic Business Advisor. Today, we're going to talk with Mike Papania. He is the founder and CEO of Coaching for Success, Inc. in Southwest Louisiana. He's a multi-entrepreneur. We'll talk to him right now. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the podcast. Glad you could make it today.
Kerry, thank you very much for inviting me. I've been looking for this for 2 weeks now. So here I am with you again. Wow.
Fantastic, man. Great to see you again. And for anybody who's watching, Mike and I are old friends. We've been knowing each other for what, 30 plus years?
Absolutely. Don't remind me, but that's the truth.
Yeah, we're both getting older. Anyway, so you're what they call a serial entrepreneur. You have a real estate portfolio that you manage. You've had a restaurant that I love, Papania in Lake Charles. You had a clothing store, the Cover Up.
Yeah, the Cover Up.
You do a lot of business coaching. You're involved with education for living seminars, and you have your own Coaching for Success now. So you've worked with a lot of, not only as an entrepreneur, but you've also worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
Yep, that's
so you've seen a lot of, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. And especially as a business coach, since it's not you, it's them, it's easy to see when it's them. You've probably seen a lot of what works, what doesn't work, and there's probably some commonality in all that. So I guess my first question would be is, what's the most common issue you see with business organizations?
The ones that everybody's struggling with is ineffective communication. Top of the list.
Yep.
Department A doesn't know how to speak to Department B. B can't make it to C, and they struggle with it. They don't know how to make a request or anything like that we know about. It changed my whole life when I started doing that in Baton Rouge, and especially when I had my clothing store, because I had live employees and I could go there on the weekend, learn about that or trust or something like that. And I'd bring it back and test drive it in my house. In my business, and it worked. I had some happy people.
Yeah.
I had some happy people. And so that's why I find most of the people. I had an insurance friend in my place, and he says, I just need help communicating to these people. I can see right away that he's not holding them as an equal,
Right.
They're people. I said, well, those people are good things, But that's what I liked. I actually, what happened was I kind of was overwhelmed, and I was doing a lot of stuff you were talking about. And so in 1999, I liquidated my clothing store. I sold my restaurant. And in January of 2000, I was unemployed. And I said, what do I love, Mike? What do I love? I said, oh, I love coaching. So I took a shot at it. So in January of 2000, I had to have binders and books and things and find me an office. And I started off in January of 21 under Coaching for Success. And I'm still here, and I'm glad. But I have lots of different types of customers and stuff like that over the years.
Yeah, you've dealt with some regional businesses, and I don't want to disclose any of them for you, but I know you've played with some, you've worked with some pretty big players.
Can I speak about one or two or something?
Sure,
like that?
Of course.
Yeah, one of them that was really touching my heart. It was this home furniture. Here I am in Lake Charles, where there's a location, and they had 13 stores from Baton Rouge to Beaumont or something like that,
Wow.
And so when they they interviewed me, and then so, okay, we'll try out your program. And so I had a group of that. Anyway, they put 110 people through my class in 1 year.
Wow.
They just ate it up. Then I fell into Stoller Jewelry, big thing in Baton Rouge. And I got the human resource director to come to be in my class and see if he liked it or not. And then he brought the boss by, and then my stay there was for 4.5 consecutive years. Every Thursday morning, I drove to Lafayette and taught classes.
Wow.
They had 1,200 employees, and we ended up putting 970 people through the class.
Well, I think that's pretty good testament that they were satisfied with the results.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm now still doing one for right now in Lafayette. I was there Tuesday for home furniture again. They're getting their new people going through. And the head guy says, you know, you might as well come every other month, you know, because they're just getting results and that's so much fun. So it makes me happy that it's helping out other people and helping their company. And they're just great people. So I've worked with McDonald's before and stuff and other companies. So
that's fantastic, Mike. So can you tell us, like, in a nutshell, I know it's going to be kind of hard, but in a nutshell, what does your class offer to these businesses employees that they're running so many of their employees through it?
Okay, well, the deal is, the first thing I start off with is effective communication. And you know, the speech act theory, and that's what I do, the language acts. And I start off speaking about like their paradigms. And the first thing I talk about is being a coach. What is a coach? He's an observer of somebody else. You know, we have a baseball coach, you know, so so we're not good observers ourselves. And I think the more each one of us becomes more self-aware, when I see something I hadn't seen before about Mike on my own, that's a big deal. So I kind of set it up that way to roll into that. And I have a 4-part program. You can do it every other week or something like that. And so paradigms, God, when I went to Stephen Covey on that, in that book, The 7 Habits, that's the first thing he does in the chapter. I just kind of borrowed it from him, because I knew what he was talking about. I said, yeah, I got to put it up there. And then the speech act theory is finished in part 1 and part 2. So I finished a part 2 today here in Lake Charles, and we're going to go on with it. The third point I broke it up into was trust and emotional intelligence. I'm going, oh my God, trust. You've got to hear me. I mean, I'm serious about this. I love it so much that people see I love it. When I'm talking to them, like a Kiwanis Club, a lunch and learn or something, they just eat it up. They said, so when you know the 3 points that we take care of and all that kind of stuff. Emotional intelligence, I'm just telling people, how much do you know about your moods and emotions? You can't have all those bad moods coming into your apartment, into your business every day.
Right.
Your moods and your emotions are so important. And I just kind of soften it and let them kind of walk through it with me, because, we grow up in a historical thing saying moods and emotions are a sign of weakness. And that's why we bury those things, because, like, well, I can, we don't want to do that. So that can open your eyes so much, like, oh my gosh, our historical discourse is a sign of weakness. Everyone knows that answer when I talk to them. Say, fill in the blank. And so that part is moods and emotions. These are the hard parts. It's not the soft people scales like you think it is, because they don't know how to approach it. And so after that, and then I have the last part, not least, but I talk about listening. And I also talked at that time about problem solving using the ontology, breakdown on an ontology. Is that right? Did I say it right? No.
Ontology breakdown?
Yeah. So with that, that's why I close it, and like everybody has breakdowns. So this is what we need to do when we're in them. Don't stay there.
Right.
Don't stay there. Just jump out of there. So broadly, I think it's the part of, I'm in the education business. I'm teaching people, I'm learning companies that after they can do it with themselves. They, like, you don't need me anymore, basically.
Right.
But you need the tools to get there. And I think that's what I have, so.
Cool. Okay, great. Yeah, you brought up something that there's a lot of, what's the word over here? The misconception of what is effective communication. There's a lot of people, well, I told you, didn't I?
Right.
And then something goes wrong. And, that's the thing. Something goes wrong. It's like, well, I told you, didn't I? Well, you said something. I don't know what.
Yeah, you said something.
Anyway, so can you give us a little distinction on what is effective versus, or what are some of the misconceptions about what is effective communication?
What is effective is what we were putting out in front. We have to first keep our promises to people. Secondly, we have to probably have something like to make it more effective would be how to make an effective request. I was in 1987, I was in Baton Rouge for the first time, and I was 37 years old. And I realized in that moment, I had never made an effective request in my life. And I thought I was doing good.
All right.
And so that's very important. The way we make offers to people, sometimes we end up suffering from it because, you know, why did I offer them to help me, you know, when I know I have all this other work to do? They shouldn't have done that to me, you know. It's those language acts that are, language is the key. That, I mean, that's just it. And the last thing is declarations. Everything starts with declarations. I declared coaching for success into existence.
Right.
There was no coaching for success until Mike Papania says, you know, I have the authority, coaching for success.
The same could be said about the United States of America. At some
Yeah.
point, it was declared into existence, right? Declaration of
Yeah.
Independence.
Exactly. That's exactly. There's no difference. Exactly. It could be a little coaching for success in Lake Charles, or it could be for the United States of America. When you speak, you reveal. When you speak, you reveal.
Yep.
And if you declare something into existence, and we all know people like that. You were in elementary school or something, say the 8th or 9th grade or something, and your best friend came up to me and says, "When I grow up, I'm gonna be a doctor." And I go, "Okay, yeah, you're gonna be a doctor." And guess what? He's a doctor. I went to school with him.
Right.
That's what you know. So he first said, "What? I'm going to be a doctor." I'm thinking, you're just not that smart. I remember, you know, you were on the football field. Yeah. Anyways, so, but that's me being judgmental right there.
Yeah.
But I think it's really the key is it's a coordination of action when everybody gets on. Like if everybody in your department knows how to make the effective request, you're in good shape. If you don't know how to make it, you're going to be struggling.
Can you give us a quick breakdown of what is an effective request? What are the elements of an effective request?
Yeah, the first thing we always look for is the the committed speaker. The second one is a committed listener. So like if you have a son, you say, "Go clean the room." He goes, "Okay, Dad." That wasn't too effective, you know. And then then we move into a time zone. Sometimes we say, like, "I need this report," and you give it to your secretary. She doesn't know what to do with it. Does he like want yellow paper? Does he want me to have, you know, 3-hole punch in it? You left out everything. Just do this report. And then the last part is standards. Boy, you have different standards of your son cleaning a yard, huh? Or somebody making a bed. Like those four. Now the big daddy in that, you ready? That you asked it, is that there's 4 keys to all that, but there's an umbrella on top. You know what that umbrella is? It's your mood. And what mood do you make your request?
Right.
That's like, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. That's valuable. If you can manage your mood and make a request, hallelujah. We all
yeah, and you're not talking about like being moody. You know, some people are going to say
no,
and they're going to think moody, and you know, you got to emote a whole bunch. What kind of moods are you talking about? Compare and contrast. Like, what's an effective mood? What's not an effective mood?
Well, you know that already.
Well, I know, but I'm asking you to say it so you can tell the audience.
Well, okay. Pessimism and optimism. How about those moods? That's about the easiest you can get. Moods. Yeah, you know, the guy's up there and you say, I said, "Oh, it's a beautiful day today." And the guy goes, "Well, I heard it's going to rain tomorrow." You know, and it, you know, you just can't, I mean, that's how funny it is.
Yeah.
Just what mood do you make your request in?
Right.
That's the key thing right there. Cause you know, like you can, why did he come in here? I don't like him because he comes in here in a bad mood, yelling at me, and then he goes away. How can I work with people like that? Like, and he doesn't see that he's doing that. That's the other part.
Right. And so if you come in a quote, a bad mood or an ineffective mood or negative mood, and even if it's made an effective request, the person you're speaking to is going to have a very hard time listening to what you're saying, because all they're going to be dealing with is your mood.
That's right.
Right.
Like all they can do is hear your mood is really what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And what comes out of the mood is, you're wrong, you're stupid, you're going to screw this up again. I don't even know I'm bothering to ask you. I mean, you don't say those words, but that's the experience people have. If you come in, it's like, this is what I want you to do, and this is why I want you to do it, and I want it done by this time, and you better have everything right, and that kind of a request. You can say specifically what you want and by a time, exactly how you want it. But if you say it in that kind of an accusatory tone, what people are going to get for it is, he thinks I'm stupid. He knows he thinks I'm going to screw it up. Why even try? No matter what I do, it's going to be wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in a way that you're like, that's what you're seeing right there. And that's what holds up everything. And know what to do. You hand it to your secretary and you're in a bad mood. She puts your piece under at the bottom. Okay. That's how they get even.
They'll get back. Yeah. They'll get back.
So I have a lot of fun in my class. I hate to say it that way, but like I took it not being serious as I used to,
Right.
I'm kind of more playful, and I think I get a different breeze from the people in the room, because that allows them to do that. So if I'm going into like a perfection person, they have to do it every day. You have to do it this way. What was that coach's name out there in California? Roger.
Well, it was Roger Galvin. It was East Coast, and it was West Coast Roger.
I can see his face. I can't remember.
I know.
That was only 30 years ago, huh?
Yeah.
But what he told me one time?
Huh?
One-on-one? But no, this what he told me one time, one-on-one. Mike, I never teach my class the same way. He says, because that means you have to learn that way. He was saying, like, does that make sense?
Wait, say again?
Well, he's telling me, never have your class the same way you did last week. He says, because you have to allow the participants to express and then coach into that. And it'll be different every week. If you're teaching nurses, the doctors, I've taught, Pompelli Tire Company in Lake Charles, I love them to death. I have if they want to go in sales, they have to come take my class.
Wow.
That's a given. That's just a given. Boom.
Yeah.
So they come in as they do, and he called me back this month. Last week I was in his office again. He says, we need to add some more stuff to your stuff. I said, well, let's talk. We can invent something here,
Yeah.
So it's been good. So I think that's a lot right there. I just said those language acts, but nothing can top the moods.
Yeah. Yeah. Mood is what, as they say, arrives before you do.
It moves. That's exactly right. Yes. Right. You learned something. I remember.
No. I got a few things out of classes. Yeah.
But really, that's what's happening. I know I don't know how much time I have, and you can cut this part out. But I began to understand that safety is big for organizations. And what happens, it opens up the possibility of somebody being injured, is that they're coming to work in a bad mood.
Yeah. And
this was true for me in Lafayette. I was with an oil company, and I was there on say Wednesday morning, and I was about ready to open the doors, and this guy was coming down the hall, and he slammed the doors open, glass doors open, kind of pushed me out of the way, jumped in his truck, started peeling out the gravel in the parking lot, and headed north on 49 in Lafayette.
Wow.
I said, oh my God, he's going to kill somebody. That's, like he's in a bad mood, and he's going to not be focused on the other cars and things.
Yeah. And your mood possesses you.
Yeah, that's it. And if So if a guy's going through a divorce and he's taking that bad mood from the ex-wife, and he goes, "Oops, I just cut my finger," you know.
Oop, I just got in a fatal wreck, killed
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah, stuff like that.
But those are, I think their safety can be put by moods too, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's something I've thought about for years, and I really haven't approached it. But every time I start thinking about this one, I was afraid when he was coming out the doors. You know, he could have
right.
knocked me down and so forth. And I said, "Well, I think he just got fired," is what happened.
Ah,
You know, and he was in a bad mood. And he first opened on the doors, and then on Mike, and then the poor truck was just. So anyway,
right.
this.
No, but you know, this whole thing about safety and mood affecting safety, I think you definitely onto something, because I have a client that has a safety company. And one of the big things with safety is awareness. You have to be aware of your surroundings, of what's going on. You know, you have to be aware of the rules, of all the checklists and all the
Do all
stuff
that
they do with
stuff.
safety. If you're in the wrong mood, you're not going to pay attention to any of that stuff.
That's right.
You're going to be absorbed by the mood. You're going to be absorbed by all the conversations that have the mood, when the mood has you, and you're going to miss a lot.
You miss a lot of it. It's like, you know, so.
You know, you're going to go grab some live wire and shock yourself to death, or miss something and start it on fire, or do something else silly, and somebody else is going to get hurt.
And you turn the wrong valve and it blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want that too much.
Oh, yeah, you
because they weren't paying attention.
You need to be in a good mood in dangerous situations. Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just so that kind of stuff is you know, everybody needs to see it, you know.
Yeah.
If you ask somebody else to make the 4 or 5 effect, how do you make it with these 5 events? They wouldn't know how until they learned how to do it. And it's all simple stuff. I mean, you know, yeah, it's like you got to take that fish out for a little while and see what this brings, and then we can push fish down there again, because
right,
it's just part of that.
Yeah. So the 5 speech acts, excuse me, as I remember, there's assertions, there's declarations, then there's a special form of declaration with assessments, and then the last 3 speech acts are all about designing the future, which are request, offers, and promises.
Yes.
If you can master those 5 along with moods, and again, moods have conversations along with emotions. Those are emotions are more short-term assessments about your circumstance, where moods are more, I guess, comprehensive, longer term, bigger picture assessments of your situation. So if you can get a handle on all that, and again, it's simple, but it's not easy, because especially if you've been doing it a while, not paying attention to all that.
Yes.
It's going to have you. You're not going to see what. It's hard for you to listen to it because it's there so much. It's been there for so long. It's hard for you to hear a lot of the content overriding, whatever you want to call it, especially the really sincere, those beliefs that you hold so dear and close as the truth. Those are the ones that are going to produce all kinds of conversations. And again, my experience has been when there's some suffering going on, there's some breakdown, if you can trace it back, you can always trace it back to language, and generally trace back to some, you know, ultimate truth that somebody has about themselves, the world, whatever, how they've been treated. And it's being able to reflect on those things, you know, being able to, as Julio Olala, one of our coaches, used to say, reflection is original sin, because then you can take those absolute truths and actually learn to reflect and question if they're valid or not. And for some people, that's really hard. Born again Christians, you know, the question of was Christ real would be very hard for them to examine. And again, I'm not trying to get religious here, but without trying to get too political, you know, to be able to examine some of your basic beliefs, some of those really hardwired, and again, I say hardwired, but because you've been programmed from birth to now, and you've been listening to it over and over again, it's so much there that's not even, it's not seen as a thought. It's not seen as a conversation. It's just seen as reality or the truth.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of my experience has been. That's where most people's suffering comes from.
Yeah. And Carrie, I'm going to go one step further. This is what we're talking about is what is your paradigm? And I have the definition for myself. It's a way of thinking, believing, and behaving, and you've been doing it for so long, you think you have the truth.
Yeah.
And hence you get stuck in your paradigm. Well, we've been doing it this way for 20 years. Why change?
Yeah.
It ain't broke. Don't fix it.
Right. Well, and again, a lot of times when people claim, oh yeah, we thought about it, we're thinking about it, we think about it a lot. A lot of times thinking requires questioning. In other words, you have to ask, to have real thinking, you have to be able to ask questions. You have to not know. Because if you know everything already, what is that to learn, right?
Nothing.
Most people have thoughts, they're not thinking.
Okay.
They just have the same thoughts over and again. They call that thinking. It's not. It's just, you're just playing a tape over and over again and just reinforcing what you think you already know, but you're not learning anything. Thinking is learning.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, everything is, God, the educational part is everything.
Yeah.
It's just really new learning.
Yeah.
Big statement. You have to learn something new.
Yeah.
What do we call it when we keep doing the old things over and over again? You think
insanity.
different? Yeah.
Einstein called it insanity. Expecting different results.
I just have to sneak that one in a little bit, because that's what it's really, when you stand back and look and you keep yelling at your son and yell at your son, you yell at your son, and then the dad says, I wonder what's wrong with our son. Well, that's not the son, it's the dad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the attitude of some business owners. The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Oh, we human beings, we're just so funny. I'm telling you, you have to kind of love us,